What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Shaw Sports Media. And today, this is a super special episode for me because I got my pops, Bryn Shaw. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Bryson. I'm honored that you wanted me on your podcast today. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, you can. Now, Dad, there's a couple things I want to talk about here. And first off, I just want to thank you because I wouldn't be here without you, obviously. And you've always done things where people would be like kind of questioning them, but I always knew that you had the right plan for me. And the first thing I want to get into is kind of just overall parenting advice. I mean, you and Mom have done a fantastic job with me. And there's kind of three things that you would tell parents in terms of just how to raise a son, an athlete and just an overall son. What are kind of three things that you would tell a parent if they're listening to this?
Well, I guess first of all, I'd say any parent, most parents truly love their kids, and once you have children, it kind of takes over your life. It changes your life. You shift from being kind of self-centered and selfish and more about you, and then once you have your kids, you want your kids to have a better life than you have. And you take the experiences that you've learned in your sports life and your growing up life, and you try to transpose those over to your kid, and I know for me, like when I wrestled, I played football when I was young, and I had a bunch of great coaches, a bunch of men that I felt, my coaches were like fathers, and they all mentored me, and I'm still, as you know, I'm still close to all my coaches. And, so I just took the lessons that they taught us, and back then it was a different time. We were drinking water out of a hose, and we had 2-a-day football practices, and, people were throwing up all over the place and kind of pushed you hard, but they made you men. And you learn the team aspect of things, you're only as good as the team, and, you put yourself, the team first, and I think you've done all those things. But if you want to be great, you go the extra mile, and for me, I always believed in that 10,000, hours of practice makes somebody a great player.
Yeah, real quick. Now, you're referring to a book that you read, and I remember when you read it. So you read this on an airplane.
It was called the Outliers.
And that really kind of impacted how you kind of viewed.
Yeah,
right?
it did, because I recommend every father of a youth kid to read the book Outliers. And in the book, I remember they talked about why certain kids that play hockey in Canada, why these kids were the best in the country. And it's a certain select that always made the Canada All-Star team. And when they went back, and they looked at generally the oldest kids in that age group played on the best teams. And when you play on the best teams, you practice with the best. And you know how they say steel sharpens steel, and all the little cliches that go along with it. But it's true,
Yeah.
So you practice with the best kids, you practice the most. You're out there, you're working hard.
Yeah. And that's exactly what you had with me. I mean, you had me on the best team since the time I was 3, wrestling with the best people at 3, playing lacrosse with the best, crabs lacrosse, football. And I would agree with you that I think something looking back on my career that's really helped me is just being surrounded by the best and just really trying to strive to be a part of those great teams.
And then another thing I did, which I think a lot of people think were probably a little crazy at the time, is I just made a plan and stuck to the plan. I didn't let people try to, I'm one of those people, follow the crowd, end up with the crowd. I felt like, we were going to take our own path. We were going to do what I thought was right, regardless of what other people said, when you had to move around, find the best teams. We had to go further than some other places to play sports. But we did that. And then, I found the schools that, had the best sports programs, and the youth leagues that had the best sports programs. I mean, in wrestling, we were going up Pennsylvania, wrestling in Pennsylvania,
Yeah, that's
wrestling
right.
in Ohio.
Yeah.
In lacrosse, we were going all over. We were playing in Towson where lacrosse started.
Right.
And then we were going to all the best tournaments.
Yeah.
We were going up in Long Island and playing those kids, and they're
Right.
all tough kids.
Yeah.
So the more you're around tough alpha kids,
Yeah.
the more you become a tough alpha kid. And it wasn't, it was never easy on you. It wasn't easy on me, but, or your mom. But, all those hours paid off, and,
100%.
and I'll be honest with you, I mean, you were a good son,
Yeah.
you bought right into it, but I always felt like if you're playing sports, you're not, you're out there with good families and good kids that
100%.
want the best for their children, so, even looking past sports, I think it's a life builder, and something that prepares you for life down the
All right,
road.
yeah, that's awesome. Now I got a little bit of a funner question for you. Now, out of lacrosse, wrestling, and football, which sport would you tell parents that their kid, if you could pick one, their kid has to play this sport growing up?
Out of those
Out
three
of those three.
sports, I would say that wrestling, although it's the most grueling sport, and it's probably, you're inside gymnasiums a lot, you're not outdoors, it's real hard on the mothers.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way I looked at it is I could either pay for a trainer to train you, and you still don't get the team camaraderie and the
Yeah.
other kids. I mean, and those kids, they're not bullies. These kids are the tough kids
Yeah.
that grow up respectful of parents, respectful of other kids. They're the protectors of children that aren't tough.
Yeah.
So I personally would say that wrestling, if you put your kids in wrestling, that's that and you want your kid to be tough and be a tough person, wrestling's great. But I mean, as far as hand-eye coordination and all this stuff, I think lacrosse, football, basketball, all those
Yeah.
things are great sports.
No, I agree. Growing up, man, wrestling, I couldn't stand wrestling growing up, but looking back on it now, I'm like, my kid would definitely be wrestling in the future. Now, I will say the most fun was probably lacrosse. Would you?
Yeah,
agree the most
well,
fun
I think
probably
lacrosse is a great sport for many reasons. I almost started laughing there for a second. I mean, where else can you play something? They give you a stick and let you beat on other people for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
But the lacrosse, the lacrosse community is very tight-knit community.
Yeah.
If you want to get your kids into college, lacrosse is the best sport to get your kid into a college. It may not be a full ride, but it'll get you into the Naval Academy, West Point, UPenn, Cornell.
Yeah.
You can go to all the schools that you couldn't get into in today's world, that would be almost impossible to get into. Lacrosse opens that avenue. So if you really want to play a good team sport, have fun, enjoy the whole thing, lacrosse is probably the game.
No, yeah, I agree with you. And this is perfect because it brings me into the next segment I want to get into, and it's kind of recruiting. I was a highly recruited kid for lacrosse. I was highly recruited for football. Just kind of as a parent, from some of the things we did right and some of the mistakes that we made, what would you tell parents when when these schools are coming after your son? What would you tell that these parents to look out for with these schools? If you could go back on it, how would you make another decision when you're going through the recruiting process?
I mean, in the beginning, for me, and you go through stages, right? Because you don't know your kid's going to be a great athlete from day one. You can see it in them. You see them growing every year. And then when the schools come knocking for you, it was like 8th grade. You started getting every college in the country coming after you for lacrosse. And I was, I thought it was a big deal. Some of these schools were schools, that I could have never even fathomed me getting into. So I was really, honored to have these schools interested, invite you. They take you on great tours and everything. But I think you want to get, for me, I always wanted to get you with a coach that was similar to my high school coach, that was almost a dad to me, somebody that I felt would look out for you, look out for your best interests, and somebody you could trust, and somebody that you would have a long relationship with past sports. you know, because I'm not always going to be here,
Right.
you know, and those relationships you make are your lifelong relationships. So I would say, you know, just take it all in. There's going to be more. You know, the first one that comes to you is not, you know, go and then visit, enjoy it. You know, then you'll get another one, then you'll get another one, then you'll get another one. The more you get, the more they start coming. And then, but you know, be selective. Find somewhere that your family feels comfortable with, that you feel comfortable with. I mean, if you ask me a regret, I kind of let you choose kind of what, like when you said you're going to go to Wisconsin, you just, you know, you didn't ask us. You just said, all right, coach, I'm going to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You know, and caught me off guard. You know, I mean, I was kind of hoping you would play lacrosse and football, and you
Right.
had those offers from, you know, 5 or 6 of the best colleges to play both sports.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that would be fun, but that was kind of more selfish for me and mom.
Right.
And I think for you, you wanted to play one sport, dedicate yourself to that, and I get it. And but you know, all of it's enjoy the journey. It goes by fast. You know, the college experience is great. You know, when you're on the sports team in college, it's even probably a better experience than you know 90% of anybody else gets to enjoy. So you know, it's been a good ride for us.
No,
It's been a
great
good ride for you
We've
too.
learned
I
a
think.
lot, and I always tell people, you know, that this whole journey that you kind of set up for me, and I can't thank you enough. Like I said, it's made me a much better person. I've learned a lot and feel like I'm really prepared for anything that comes at me.
Right.
And now I kind of want to bring up some teams, and I want you to tell me, you know, what I'm gonna name some teams, and then you're gonna tell me what was your favorite team that I ever played on, and what is your favorite memory. So let me name all the teams, and we can get into it. Warhawks wrestling, Warhawks football, Looney's lacrosse, Crabs lacrosse, Bullis High School, Bullis, you know, football, Bullis lacrosse, and then we got boys Latin, and then we got Ohio State football and USC football. So what was kind of your favorite time period of my sporting career, and your favorite team and kind of favorite moment?
This is the crazy thing. Most parents, you know, they'll probably think it was Ohio State, or they'll probably think it was USC, being part of that family. And they were great. That was all great. But I can tell you, up and through high school, enjoy that time, because that's the best. That's the absolute hands down best. Those teams you look, Ryan McLaren was a trend setter in lacrosse, probably one of the best coaches that you could ever put your kid with.
Yeah,
He was
tough. Founder of Crabs lacrosse.
Yeah, founder of Crabs lacrosse. He was tough on the kids. He was tough on the parents. I mean, he had parents crying. He had kids crying. But he taught you life lessons.
Yeah.
Dan Ricker with Warhawk Wrestling, I mean, if you ever, he's a character, but I mean, if you ever want to put your kid into wrestling and be a high-end wrestler,
Yeah.
I would say Warhawks Wrestling was the best. What I enjoyed the most was when you were a quarterback and played for the Warhawks football team.
Yeah.
I mean, you were just an outstanding athlete. You know, you were the best on offense, the best on defense.
Yeah.
You know, all the other kids and parents looked up to you. Like, you know, I would go places and people would be patting me on the back and saying, you know, they watch your game. And there would be parents that didn't even have kids on the team that would come out to watch you play
Yeah.
football. So, I mean, football, there was some great moments. Football and lacrosse were definitely better than going to wrestling matches.
Yeah, 100%.
But,
So youth league football and
yeah,
really
youth
kinda
league football and
high
youth league
school.
lacrosse were just, Mom and I look back on those times, and they were the best times. You know, the families were great. Everybody was close.
Yeah.
You know, and I got to do a shout out to Alex Bagnotta at the Warhawks football. I mean,
Yeah.
here's a guy that he believed in you. He stuck behind you. He went to high schools and lobbied for them to
Yeah, he did.
take you on their team. So as far as that goes, we couldn't have been any more blessed. Grew up in the right area with the right
100%.
coaches,
Yeah,
the
we
right
really are
schools. You know, it was great. That was great.
Okay, now that's perfect. So there's something kind of personal I want to get into, only because that, you know, there's been a lot of times in my playing career, especially in college at Ohio State and USC, where things got kind of tough for me. But something that you've really inspired me to do is just be a tough, you know, fighter type of guy and really rely on discipline. And people will ask me, somebody asked me, when people come in and talk about discipline and stuff, they bring, when I'm at USC, Ohio State, they bring in like some of these guys who come in and give us a preach about discipline. And while it's great, I really don't, I don't need to listen to it, because in my opinion, I grew up with the guy who's the most disciplined guy I've ever met. And, the reason is because you have been battling cancer, and that is true.
Right.
And you've been battling for, 8 years
10
now,
years.
10 years now, and you've just been fighting every single day. You get up 3:30, 4, 5 in the morning, and you have a 3-4 hour routine. By the time you're done doing all the things you need to do, it's, 9, 10 o'clock. And so what's kind of, what motivates you to wake up every single day and do the same thing every single day?
I'm going to give you some credit for this. My love for you and my children, most parents will say this, you don't battle that stuff and get through that stuff without, it's bigger than you. And for me, it was always, I wanted to be there. I told you this a long time ago. I'll never miss a game.
Yeah.
I didn't let cancer ever
Never
let me miss
Never missed a game. Never missed a
I
practice.
mean, I even went to a college game and you got COVID and you didn't even go, and I still went to the game.
Yeah, you're talking about Northwestern, yeah. I
Yeah,
remember that.
so for me, it was that promise I made to you. It was the promise to see you through life and be there for you. That's what motivated me the most. I mean, and your mom, taking care of your mom and taking care of her family and that stuff.
Yeah.
And just being a provider and being there for the family as the family grew and the family needed me. I just felt like I had to battle through what I had to battle through and try not to let it be overwhelming. I don't think I complained ever a lot.
Never
I
complained.
just got
Never
on it and
complained.
did the right thing, and luckily I could financially do the right thing. So it was all, it just the love of your family will drive you to do stuff. But again, you, Bryson, like, I always told you, nobody dictates your path but you. So like for somebody to say, hey, you can't do that, or you can't do this, you can do whatever you want to, and I say this to every kid out there, you can be what you want to be. Don't let some coach tell you you can't do this, or you're not that guy, or you're not this guy. You're whatever you put your mind to be. And and you've always been mentally tough. I think every coach that's ever had you will say that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mental part is as important as the physical part when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
You got to be a smart person, have your mind on straight. You have to be a giver, not just a me guy.
Yeah.
And you've always been that way. You've been, I've listened to all your interviews. You've always talked highly of your coaches, talked highly of the players you played with and now and in the past. And you look at the friendships you've made. I mean, NBA players, pro football players, professional lacrosse players. They know you. The coaches know you.
Yeah.
So I think, what you've done in your life speaks for itself. And we're proud of you, as you know. And it's been a great ride. You've made your mother and me, our lives, so much more exciting and special, and and it's been a great ride. I want to thank you for it, because we've enjoyed it all. I remember when you won the outstanding player in the
Under Armour lacrosse.
in the Under Armour lacrosse
Yeah.
thing, and like that was I remember when they said Bryson Shaw, MVP of the tournament.
Yeah, that was
I
great.
mean, I was like.
And I remember we got in an argument before that tournament because I was like, I don't want to play, I don't want to do this. And you're like, you're gonna freaking go to that tournament.
Go out
and you're
there,
gonna go play hard. And next thing you know, I ended up winning the MVP of the whole tournament. So there's.
And I think we played Philadelphia, and they're always tough.
Yeah, they're tough.
In the
Yeah,
championship
Philly,
game.
yep.
Yeah,
those are good times.
And it did the clutch, the clutch goal at the end, to seal the deal.
No, lacrosse.
Yeah, that was a special moment. So I look back on it, and I'm like the Ohio State. I can think of a bunch of times The catch against Michigan.
Yeah.
You know, I remember walking away and everybody in Michigan was giving us the finger, and I was sitting there thinking, man, but he made an interception in that game. So I was pumped.
No, I feel
So I didn't even care about him giving me the
No, I
finger.
feel ya.
But it was all good stuff. You
Yeah.
know, it's been a good ride.
No, this is great. All right, Pops, I love you, man. Thank you
I love
so
you
much
too.
for coming
Nah,
over here.
thank you
know
for
I love
having me on.
All right,
All right,
that's good.
buddy.